Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gamersledge Podcast, episode number. I've already forgotten. What is it? 287, I think. Survey says.
Sounds reasonable.
No, 328.
No, I was totally wrong.
It's a. What did I call it? A remake of the 7th Fantasy, finally. I'm one of your hosts, Mark, and joining me this week, we have a panel of luminaries. First off is, of course, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Howdy.
And then next to him is Keegan.
Hello.
You guys speak for more than that, Keegan.
Hello.
There you go.
Yes,
And last but not least, to get that visualization out of your head, it's Mitchell.
Howdy.
So, we have lots to talk about. Boy, I don't think there's a way that I can remove myself. I guess I can just turn my camera off in Zoom. And maybe that won't do that cascading thing like that. Because that's kind of annoying.
A little bit.
Let's see. So if I go here and I say stop video. Yeah, but then it's just going to put my name on the screen.
Yeah.
You're the pulsing M or G.
Yeah, so that's not going to work either. I don't know what to do. All right, well, we'll just leave it like this. Anyways, we have lots to talk about this week. But let's start as we always do and go around the room and talk about what we've been doing since last time we met. Let's start with you, Keegan.
Okay. I've been playing some Kingdom Hearts. I have one more boss left to get through of the DLC. And I have been watching a butt ton of Black Clover. I actually did the math and I watched approximately 33.6 hours of it within the last week, I'm pretty sure, because I think I started last weekend.
It's a bit of a run there.
Yup. I don't think I've done anything else besides schoolwork.
All right, then. Mitchell, how about you?
All right, I've been doing Pokemon, doing some shiny hunting, Sword and Shield to be more specific, some Animal Crossing. I picked Final Fantasy XIV back up recently because of a friend of mine. And then also Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kingdom Hearts 3 Limit Cut episode, which is the Boss Rush DLC portion. And some Jump Force and Spyro Reignited trilogy, but I'm still on the first game.
Matt, how about you?
Well, I have been watching while I ride the old elliptical. I'm working on Into the Badlands season 2. Not as good as season 1, really, in my opinion, but it's not. It's fine for elliptical. I mean, it's not looking for something I got to pay a lot of attention to, so that's fine. We did, after much stress and angst and late evenings, finish Star Trek Discovery. I don't remember if we had finished Picard last time because that was like 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I'm not sure. We finished Picard first, and then started into Discovery, and then we got through season 2 of Discovery and all the shorts. So we got our Star Trek in before the free month expired, only to find out that they give you another free month the minute you say you want to cancel after your free month is done.
Well, that's good.
Except I burned some serious midnight oil to get through that. So yeah.
So wait, no, I wanna find out what you actually thought about it.
Okay. Well, season 1 was a good sci-fi show, but it wasn't very Trekky to me, right? It's like, so the pitch was, man, I got this great idea for this show. Here, I'm going to pitch it to you. And the guy behind the chair was like, okay, but what if we made it Star Trek? And then they were like, so you mean like next gen, like way future, like another 1,000 years in the future? No. Before the original series. Oh, okay. I guess we can make that work. Yeah. So There were some definite weirdnesses there, and which then led to some really kind of hand wavy retconning in season two, um, which was kind of annoying. It's like, oh, I see you deciding to grow your hair out. Like, really? When was that ever a thing?
But that's not what I'm asking about. What I'm asking you
No, I know.
about is the conclusion of season 2.
No, I know. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Start at the beginning. I'm
Okay,
getting
okay,
there.
okay.
Season 2 overall, is his name Anson Mount? Is that how I think that's how it's pronounced? That played Captain Pike, made the season.
Dude,
That
he is
rocked it.
he is Captain Pike, man.
He
I mean
is.
that was
I didn't-
amazing.
Until they did the flashback thing with the menagerie, I didn't realize how much he looked like the original
No,
actor.
he
for
looks
Pike.
like the original actor too. It's crazy. I actually wonder if he's related. I should do a search on that.
Maybe, I don't know. But that was that he made that season, and then he brought that trekkiness with him, right? He brought that original season swagger and style to the show, and then it kind of bled into everything else. They had some really good plot lines. The arc was solid. It wasn't the best Trek arc I've ever seen, but it was solid.
It was better than Enterprise season 1 through 3.
Yeah, easily. The things that they did do, to try to mush the two together, and how it concludes and everything. And we don't probably want to talk about it here, but you had posited something about an interconnectivity between seasons based on stuff from season 2, which I could see. There was definitely at least some visual similarities.
There were.
So, and dimension, multiple dimensions is already established. So,
but what do you think about the explanation of
why we don't
know about it? Yeah,
that's horrible. Humans are terrible secret keepers.
They sure are.
There's no way
they sure
that
are.
would
I think it's a little fluffy on
work.
that one. The logic's a little fluffy.
Again, with the hand wavy.
Yeah,
Waving
well,
hands.
I think that's a little more than hand wavy. I mean, they really needed to show Spock just mind melding and everyone in the most horrible way possible. You will not
You
ever
would have had
talk
to have
about
done
this.
like half the Federation, because everybody knew about this thing.
And all historical records from not only them but the Klingons and every other species. It's really weird.
I got to that, and I'm just like, really? That's how you're going to cover? Okay.
Okay. There are certain things like the whole, did you see the Marty McFly thing finally got addressed by, Marty McFly went back in time and introduced his parents to each other, and basically, his mom fell in love with him, and he had to get him set back up with his dad, all that stuff, and his name was Calvin Klein. And why did they never notice that their son looked exactly like Calvin Klein?
Right.
The thing about it was if you're someone who's 40 or more, I would challenge you to think back onto your high school days, somebody that you knew for exactly 8 days,
Right.
Who you knew somebody with that same name, how funny, as a famous designer or whatever. But then, can you even remember, they were like, can you remember a transfer student that was in your school? And I'm like, I remember vaguely what he looked like. And he was there for a whole semester. And I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember what country he was from. I vaguely remember what he looked like, but I couldn't, say, oh, that looks exactly like my son 40 years, 30, 25 years later or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I could see them loosely taking that approach, and they did say that it was punishable by treason/death. So I kind of it's loosey-goosey, but I thought they did enough. But I'm really interested to see season 3 now, because it will actually.
Yeah, because where are they going to pick up?
Oh no, they've already said they're picking up exactly where you think they're picking up.
Okay.
Their destination. which
Right.
will put it the furthest in the timeline that's ever been created. So
Right. Back where it should have been.
It is simultaneously the oldest and newest thing. And I'm like,
Yup.
really? Okay. I didn't even watch the shorts, so you got one up on me. I
Okay.
heard they were good, but I haven't watched them.
There's a couple that are excellent, and that's what triggered me to watch them, because something happens in the final episode and they show a scene from something. I'm like, did I miss an episode? Because let me tell you, the other thing I got to go on about this, that CBS All Access app
No,
is
it's horrible.
crap.
Yeah, no, it's
It
horrible.
is horrible. Oh my
It is.
gosh.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you have a monopoly on your content. You don't care.
Well,
But it doesn't keep track of where you are. It doesn't
No.
show you what episodes you've watched. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't remember anything other than you've clicked into a series.
well, wait. Which device are you using?
PS4.
Oh, now see, I can't attest to the PS4. I will say that on my Roku Smart TV, it does show me where I left off in the episode.
Oh, if you
So-
leave
Oh,
off
yeah, if you leave
mid-episode, yeah,
mid-episode,
it'll
yeah.
do that.
No, but I mean, when you go to look at it, there's a bar that shows me how much I've watched of each episode.
Yeah, that was sporadic. Like I was
Yeah.
doing the jump to next episode from the credits, and that for a while was leaving the bar with just a little bit unwatched on the end, so I could
Yeah.
see. But then it started sporadically. Some of them would have it, some of them wouldn't have it, and it's like I don't know. Anymore.
Yeah, it's not a great app, but I also get
But
it at
ton of
zero
content
cost.
in there, though.
Yeah, ton of content. I mean,
Jeez, there's gun smoke in there for Pete's sake.
yep, it's actually not bad for the cost, but if you're not interested in NCIS, Star Trek, or
Hawaii 5-0.
Hawaii Five-O or Twilight Zone, that's pretty much the four big pillars that I can think of that are
Yeah,
in
because
there.
Big Bang's not even on there yet because it's still
Uh-huh.
under contract with Netflix, I think.
Yep,
So
yep.
it's not on there.
So I mean, but there's still a ton of content.
Oh, there is. They've got a lot of old shows. They've got a lot of the old shows. A lot of old shows I didn't even remember were CBS shows. I'm like, oh, really? That was a CBS show? I didn't remember that.
Well, I'm glad you finished it. Now, what do you think of Picard then?
I really liked Picard. It had its things too. I mean, I could see where some people would have a similar "that's not my Picard" to "that's not my Luke" thing. So I could see some similar things there from the end of the Star Wars saga to that at the beginning of the Star Trek thing. I could see where some people would have similar levels of issues.
See, I'm not that it's not my Picard. I'm that it's not my Trek, or it's not my Federation.
Right. But see, that's the whole thing is the majority of the show takes place outside of the Federation, which Trek doesn't do very often. Right. So in that way, it's different. And to me, that's where I explained a lot of the weirdnesses. Right. It's like, whenever we're in the Star Trek, we're always looking at, I mean, Deep Space Nine was like the closest thing we got to like a non-Federation thing where there was a little bit of rough edges and there was the Ferengi traders and there was illegal trade going on and stuff. And every other thing, we're looking at the best of the best, right? So we're always on this super polished, tight, everybody does the right thing all the time, more or less thing. And now we're out in the real world, right? And having gone from that military environment to the real world, I could kind of sympathize with that shift, right? The differentiation there. But the whole Picard getting beaten down thing, that kind of was similar to the way they did with the Star Wars thing. And so I was fine with that. I like that. The climax was kind of
Predictable.
Well, yeah, it was telegraphed from 3-4 episodes away, but the whole thing was just, it was really well done and I liked a lot of it, but as a cohesive thing, it was okay. I mean,
see, I liked it, but the longer I'm being separated from it, the more misgivings I have, because my main problem with it from the get-go has been that when you invoke Trek, it's always about coming from a place of hope.
mm-hmm.
And this is not that. This is it's coming from a flawed place trying to get back to a place of hope. And I'm not saying that's a bad story that shouldn't be told, but it doesn't feel very Trek to me. It feels more
And in
Star
a lot of-
Wars.
Yeah,
Then-
and in a lot of ways, Orville did it better.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, because Orville is still working in that place of hope, and the hope is challenged, or they have challenges come their way, which is basically the whole theme of Next Gen. Whereas this is like, I still don't understand, because without getting into any spoilers for Picard, it's like Next Gen never happened. Like, the entire arc of Next Gen is what Picard learned from Q. And it's like, here, it has just been wiped off the map, never to be thought of or spoken of again. It's mind-boggling.
Well, to me, you're just making the argument for what I was saying before about the parallel between Picard and Luke.
Yeah. No,
To
yeah.
me, that's that parallel where I could see people having problems with it. And again, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, either these people are human beings and they're capable of regression and losing things because of some significant episode in their life, which is what happened with both of them, or they're story characters and they can overcome whatever gets thrown at them, like Luke did in the original expanded universe.
I don't think it's so cut and dry, though, right? Because there's a difference between, like, Luke's. How do I articulate this? This is, in my mind, it's the idea of nature versus nurture, right? In Luke's world, it is a grimdark place anyways, right? So the temptation to backpedal would be greater, in my opinion. Whereas Picard lived his entire life that way. He had one setback where things didn't go the way that he went, and instead of adhering to his lifelong ideals and all of that, he tucked his tail between his legs and took his ball and went home and just stopped. And that's a really weird character departure for him.
Well,
But-
okay, I think in his mind, as someone who hasn't seen all of Next Gen, but I think in a way that was his own personal way of trying to uphold those ideals. To him, that breach of value that they committed when they let Mars get blasted was something that kind of was such a harsh contradiction to those values that in order to stand by that, he had to do what he did in his mind.
Well, and I think the thing is too is, I mean, his entire identity was built around being a Starfleet officer. That was it. That was, he ran as fast as he could from home and became a Starfleet officer, and that was his identity. And he was effectively dismissed.
But
Minor
again,
spoiler.
the whole arc with Q was learning to think with different perspectives, and he had plenty of opportunity. Like, if he was going to give up, he would have given up during the trials. The whole point is that he always found a way to fight for his ideals and keep pushing that agenda forward. So it's really weird that they went this route. It feels like a very odd dissonance. I'm not saying, and again, I am not saying I don't like the show. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a very inconsistent premise, I guess, is the best way to say it for me.
Yeah.
I'm not upset.
This 20 years later,
It
so,
is.
sometimes we get old and we give up easier.
But it's like, where are all his friends to tell him he's being an idiot? They sure don't have any compunctions in this show to tell him that. Where are they, like, for the 20 years that he's not? It's really weird. It's really weird. I don't.
It is, but it works.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not upset with it. I enjoyed it. There were some loose ends that they really tied up in those last couple episodes real quick. But other than that, it was good. What else have you been
Anyway,
watching?
yeah,
or
so
playing, Matt? Sorry.
that pretty much it covers the watching, unless
Uh-oh.
I forget something. Oh, somebody's just
Excuse me.
Bless you. So the only other things I've done is just a little plug for if you're a PlayStation person, you can get a Sony Rewards account and link it to your PlayStation account, and eventually you'll earn enough points to get a free $50 PSN card.
I got that too. I just got that actually.
And so I saw that, and then they're having their spring sale and stuff going on. And so I went ahead and bought a thing that I had been kind of sitting on for a while because it out of the box costed a little more than I wanted to pay for it, but it was on sale and it was free money. So
What was it?
I bought the Spyro Reignited trilogy,
Nice.
which Dave would be very, very happy about if you were here. That's Insomniac's probably title that most people became introduced to Insomniac by. I'm sure Dave would be talking about Disruptor right now if you were here, but whatever. Most people know the first thing they know of Insomniac, if they go back to our age, is Spyro on the PlayStation 1. I played a little bit of it. Mitchell's been playing more. I think he's almost done with the first Spyro the Dragon, I think. But yeah, it is amazingly well done. I mean, it is very, very much the original game, but like if you thought about it and how you thought it looked back then, that's how it looks now, right? It obviously doesn't. It is a full rebuild. It is high res, high def, all that jazz. But controls feel right considering that it was a pre-dual stick controller game. You had to control the camera with that in that game with the R1 and R2, or not the two, the R1 and L1 buttons. That option is in the controls. If you want to play it that way in the Reignited trilogy, you can go ahead and play. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's not good. No. It's really, really good. It's nice. You hear those sounds again, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember these sounds, and it's just a really, really nice, well done remake. I think I mentioned before I started Breath of Fire, the Super Nintendo RPG, playing that on the Switch. I've continued that into a few hours now. I'm up to 3 characters of, I think there's a total of 8 characters, and you can have 4 character party, and I'm up to 3. So I've got a ways to go yet still. You forget how slow those old games go because you got to walk around, kill all the enemies there for a little while, and then go into the dungeon only to realize the enemies in there are much harder, and then come back out and grind out in the thing again for a while. And then watch a giant robot suit thing commit suicide. That was weird, but okay. I don't remember if I finished Kingdom Hearts 3 when we last talked or not.
You did, yes.
I did? Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So finished that. I have not started the DLC, and I haven't gone back and done any of the other stuff because right when I did that, Final Fantasy VII Remake came out.
They had the complete edition for $30, and I was sitting there going, do I want to buy this? And do I want to buy this? And I came up with the answer is no.
Oh, for Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much work.
There's a lot of content if you want to play through all of it. That is a lot of commitment. I know I played through all of them, and there were no less than 60 hours put in. Well, maybe Dream Drop Distance might not have been 60, but pretty much all of them were 60-hour investments.
And I will point out that you almost lost your mind, too.
It really wasn't that big of a trip, so, it's not like it was a significant investment.
There's only one Kingdom Hearts game in there that I have not played to completion.
Chain of Memories.
That bastard of RNG.
What about the computer one?
Recoded doesn't count. It was a phone game.
And the DS.
And it doesn't add anything to the plot. It just says, okay, so that's how Sora knows about Nomine. That's it. That's the whole summary of that entire game's plot.
Sora knows about Ramune? The drink with the marble?
Oh. No.
Nomine.
Phenomenon?
Skarkarark? What are you doing? Sending us down the mirror hallway of death.
Yes, he does. It's like sending us down the mirror hallway of death.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess that I think that leads us to you. So we'll let you go through, and then we'll kick into the Final Fantasy VII discussion.
Yeah. So let's see. So on Monday or Tuesday,
Oh, and Rock Band 4. I've been playing with Eve. So
which
yeah.
I really want to pull out and play. Actually, I'm getting really like jonesing for it. So Monday or Tuesday, I've used XSplit, and I've used XSplit for years to do this show, to do my game streaming, all that stuff. And I finally noticed. Well, I knew about it. I knew in the top right I could change the resolution of the frames per second, and so I don't know. About a month ago, I changed my bit rate to go up to 10,000. It's normally at about 3,000. I changed it to go up to 10,000 because I thought, oh, well, maybe I can do this. And so I tried it, and I dropped like a ton of frames. It was horrible. I was dropping frames left and right. But I was doing 720p at 30 frames per second since I started broadcasting because I've always used the built-in XSplit Twitch wizard. And there's a thing that, like, it says, okay, we're going to test your bandwidth and see how fast it can go, and then we'll suggest a setting for what you can do. And the highest one it would always suggest is 720p at 30 frames a second. But I found a thing on Twitch's website that said, oh, if you want to do 1080p at 60 frames a second, then here's what you need. If you want to do 4K, then here's the what you need in XSplit. And so I set it to 1080p at 60 frames a second and set it up to, I think I'm at 6,000 on the frame buffer. And I drop 0 frames and I do perfect 1080p video. So now, like, how long has this taken? Let's just say more years than I care to admit. We are now broadcasting at 1080p, 60 frames a second. So right. Which sucks, actually, because I was going to take my Final Fantasy playthrough. I won't play Final Fantasy VII Remake unless I stream it, because I want to take all of them at the end and download them all and then mix it into a one single kind of impressions reel kind of thing. And now I'm going to have video at 2 different resolutions, one at 720p and one at 1080p. So I'm going to have to figure that out in the editing process later, but whatever.
It'll just be a sharp shift at somewhere.
Yeah, it's something. And the funny, so because I will only play Final Fantasy VII when I can stream it, if I've had like an hour to an hour and a half, I haven't done that. I haven't streamed it. So I actually got back into Fortnite. And they've made a lot of changes to Fortnite. But the thing that I am enjoying the most about it is it now has PvE content while you're in the middle of PvP. Yes. So the theme for this season is spy versus spy. Not the old Mad Magazine, but same kind of deal. There's 2 groups. There's the Shadow group and the Ghost group. And there are bases in the island that you can land in, and you can actually disguise yourself as one of those people and then gain access to biometric scanners that scan whether or not you're a ghost or a shadow, depending, and give you access to like rare loot. And if you kill the boss in a specific base, then you can get his golden weapon and his key card, and his key card opens a vault that has a metric ton of rare weapons and all the power-ups you want and everything. So it's actually super useful to do this PvE content because it gets you basically some of the best gear in the game to then survive the PvP stuff. So it's very interesting, and Deadpool has been a theme as well. So Deadpool has a yacht, and he's got his own key card and vault where he can get his stuff. And then there's a bunch of, if you own the battle pass and you do a bunch of missions, then which usually comprise of you do one thing in the menus and then you do one thing in game. Like, for example, for one of the missions, I had to go to all 5 of the different colored bridges on the map, or I had to parachute in and to somewhere where Deadpool's pants were waving on a flagpole and salute them. You know, it's weird. It's weird stuff like that. Exactly. And you unlock Deadpool's eventual outfits. So I actually have 3 Deadpool outfits. I have his normal one. I have his normal one with no mask, where he's got the burnt face, and then I've got his X-Force one, which is the gray and black one, which is actually great for blending in on a map. So I'm still get to be Deadpool, but not as easily visible if I was wearing all red against
You're
green.
not a big red target.
Yeah, pretty much. So not only that, they then released all of X-Force. So they have Cable, they have Domino, and they have Psylocke. And they have like Psylocke Psyknife. Her glider is actually a giant psychic butterfly, and it sounds weird, but it actually looks really cool. And so I got all those things. You don't have to buy anything to play Fortnite; it's free. But if you want skins, that's basically skins and dance emotes. Which I was
going to say, were those all purchases or?
Yeah, those are all purchases.
Battle pass. Are they doing a battle pass type thing yet?
They are doing the battle pass. The battle pass is like $9. It's not bad. And the interesting one for this set is it's all the spies that are in this spy versus spy thing at all the bases, whether it's the ghost base or the thing. And the last guy, I don't remember, his name's Midas, and anything he touches in the game actually turns to gold, which is kind of cool. So if he touches a helicopter, it turns into a gold helicopter. If he touches a gun, it turns into a gold gun. It's kind of ridiculous, but kind of cool.
Does it still work, or does it just?
No, it still works. It's just
Okay.
it's just gold skin, yeah, basically. And there's no way to get gold skins unless you're like an Uber player who has hundreds of levels on your actual player account. So that's kind of cool. So I'm working towards that. I'm halfway there. I played under the battle pass, I think, for a week and a half, and I'm halfway there. And this season has been extended till June, so I've got plenty of time to get there. But the number of you remember how we used to have the discussion, Matt, about trophies and how they encouraged you to play games in a way that maybe the designers didn't really initially design, but they wanted you to get more playability out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these battle pass things are like, there's so many of them. I'm not joking when I say I think there's at least 300 different challenges that each one of them gets you like 40k XP. And so I'll look at this before I actually go play, and I'm actually thinking about getting a binder and a notebook just to write them all down so I've got the hard copy, because I'll forget once I get into the map. I'll know the basics of what I was supposed to do, but I don't. So it's kind of crazy, but there's all kinds of stuff in this, and it's a lot of fun.
2020 requires a no bookmarks game of the year.
Yeah, I know, right? It's So I've been playing a lot of that actually, in my hour and a half here before I go to bed when I haven't had time to play Final Fantasy. We finished The Expanse, which
nice.
I don't know why anyone would have ever canceled that show. But even the new season that was on Amazon directly was pretty good. I just don't know. It's one of those things, like, I don't know how long they can keep doing it. I don't know if they're past the books or not.
No, they're actually, that was book 4. The original trilogy was the original 3 seasons. It didn't match up book to season. Didn't line up perfectly, but the first 3 seasons were the original trilogy. That was the original arc.
How many books are there?
7.
Oh, so they do have more content to do.
They've got more content, and apparently, at least according to Ian, who has read all the books religiously, that book and that season are kind of acknowledged as the kind of rudderless. Like, they got to the end of their original plot thread and they were kind of like, oh, this is really popular, we need to do more, here's a thing. And then after that they kind of get back onto a course. You can sense that, but it still wasn't bad, if that makes sense. It's still some of the best sci-fi that's been on anything
some of
ever.
The most serious hardcore sci-fi that's been on anything.
Yeah.
I do feel that it ranged out into the magic-y this season, but I'm hoping they shut that down a little more as they move forward.
How much spoiler we want to get?
Yeah, not too much, I don't think, for people that...
But anything related to the MacGuffin of the original arc is essentially technology
Magic.
distinguished from magic, right?
Right.
So
right.
But
So
it's still, I mean, it's still grounded in ways
no,
that
it is.
nothing else, like short of Clark and Bradbury, maybe. Well, even Bradbury got into the kind of the mystic stuff. But I mean, we're talking about old.
Well, so did Clark. So did Clark. So
Well, yeah, Clark did too. But
yeah, I really really liked it, and Lexi about pitched a fit when we finished it because this has been a constant for us, and it's always we've had one more to go. You know, either it's one more season or one more episode, whatever. And now that we're done, the good news is I believe they are finished shooting the next season. So
it could be I haven't been watching news.
I did see that it was in January that they did the reunion shots that everybody was happy to be together and working again. So I'm hoping that they finished it up before then.
Yeah. So who's her character?
Man, she's a big Amos fan.
You know what? I knew it. I was gonna say. I bet it's Amos.
She's a big Amos fan. I'm actually I really like Holden, but I really like Bobby.
Yeah.
But my favorite probably has to be of course now I forget his name, the pilot, the Martian.
Alex.
Alex. Yeah. Alex has to be he's the most grounded to me.
Yeah, it's funny because I have to go back and watch season 1, but I don't think they ever explain his accent in season 1.
No, they never do. And I'm like,
I'm reading the first book right now, and they explain the accent.
Oh,
I'm
do
just
they?
like,
Okay.
Why couldn't they have just worked that into the show? Because why is this dude from Mars sound like he grew up in downtown Dallas? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think Alex is probably one of my favorites. I really do like Amos also. I mean, there's nobody on the team that I don't like.
Oh no,
and
yeah.
I think that's one of the strengths of it is they have really good character development for everybody, and everybody feels like a fully realized person as opposed to even a fleshed out character. They're all pretty. I'm not happy with how the Bobby's arc in this last season went, but then again, everybody needs conflict. Yeah, everybody needs conflict, and I somehow think that still we're gonna see. No, I hope he's actually gone. I mean, I thought they were relying on that a little. I mean, it was nice to see him again because Lexi had forgotten who Miller was by the time that it. Okay. Well, I mean. You got to keep in mind that the gap between us watching season 2 and 3 was about a year, year and a half. So it was a good while. And he was good for that, but that was like really a storytelling crutch, and it really does make Holden look crazy. So I don't like that so much. But I was gonna say that I think where they're leading with the Bobby and Aversal. I can never remember her full name. Aversalala?
Yeah, something. Yeah,
whatever.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna get the band back together and go gallivanting amongst the stars together in the next season. That's kind of where I felt it was going. But anyways, yeah, it's super good. I'm super excited about it. We caught up to the end of the pre-taped voice because. I have always maintained because all you have to do is look at the judges' outfits. They're like, it's day 2 of the knockouts or whatever, and they're in the same stuff that they were in for day 1 of the knockouts. Duh, they just taped like an extra long day, whatever, with studio. So this exposed obviously that they pre-tape all the non-live stuff. But the question was, what are they going to do when they get to the lives? And it turns out they're going to have the contestants sing from home. So that will be super interesting to watch, and
they're going to run the high fiber, gigabit fiber out to everything.
That's what I'm like. I'm like, all right, then, sure, we'll see how that works. Jeez, I hope nobody has an internet hiccup while they're in the middle of doing their performance for the nation. That would suck. So yeah, that's going on.
And which streaming service is going to, or which conferencing service is going
I'm
to
sure
get
it's
to
Zoom.
advertise there?
I'm sure it's Zoom. And then we just started watching the Netflix Wrongly Imprisoned series. I can't remember the name of it. It's like basically it's a firm that takes on cases of people who say they've been wrongly imprisoned. And then basically the show is a documentary. Each episode is a documentary of that person's case. And they go back and talk to all the witnesses. They go back and talk to all the people that were involved in the investigation if they agree to be on the thing. And then they basically walk through the case. We just started the first episode of it, and we're like 15 minutes from the end of it. We had to stop tonight. But so far, it's interesting. And I've also been watching a lot of Dark Side of the Ring, which is it's a documentary series about pro wrestling. Some of like the most controversial and darkest things, like the murder of Bruiser Brody, or the death of Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend that he was never charged with, and stuff like that, or the death of a wrestler that got into the mob and stuff like this. So it's interesting stuff. But they did just I think we did talk about the Chris Benoit thing last time, did we, or did we not?
Yeah, you did. You and Dave were talking about it.
Yeah. So they've done a bunch more, and they've all been pretty good. And it's interesting because you actually are getting historical accounts from the people that were actually there, which, you know, they may have had that in print before, but you're finally getting to see somebody tell that story. So it's and then they have out of focus. I don't know how to explain that. They have out of focus reenactments of it. Because they'll get people that are wrestlers to come in and portray these wrestlers who are, you know, obviously almost dead or, you know, in their 80s or whatever. And they reenact it, and it's blurry, but you can still tell what's going on. And they juxtapose it over the account that the person's telling. And it's actually really well done. I mean, I don't... It sounds really weird the way I'm explaining it.
It's like the Unsolved Mysteries reenactment, except they make it so you can't see anybody's face.
Right, that's exactly it. And it's really interesting because it gives context to what the story that these people are telling, especially the Bruiser Brody one. You know, they're talking about where they're at in the locker room, but being able to see the locker room and where, you know, see people come in and people go out, it actually adds a real interesting depth to it that just listening to the person's words wouldn't necessarily convey off the beginning. I'm really liking how it's produced, and they've got some interesting ones coming up too. So anyways, that's Viceland, which I'm a huge fan.
Oh, Viceland, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Viceland. I'm a huge fan of their entire network. If I could figure a way to get it, I would. But man, their reporting is something else. That is like one of the few channels that I think, I mean, I may not always be interested in what they're reporting because a lot of it's about drugs or, you know, other adult things, but still, like, their stuff is super on point and they ask super intelligent questions in almost every piece I've ever seen from them. I'm actually really sad they don't do the HBO News daily update anymore because they were for a long time. But that must have ended. That agreement must have ended, or they weren't getting the views or whatever.
Yeah, I just realized that after making that analogy, half of this podcast panel probably doesn't know what Unsolved Mysteries is.
Yeah, I have no clue.
There was a
But
movement.
I can make some assumptions based off the title.
Yeah, but you'll never be able to assume Robert Stack. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, we'll have to watch a clip.
Okay.
But yeah, I really... so we've been doing that. Fortnite, I'm trying to think. I've been working my ass off. I really don't like this work from home thing. I'm doing way more work now than I've ever done because I can't shut off the I'm not in the office thing, right? Like when work-life balance was a real thing and now it's not because I just did it like I'd stopped. We stopped to eat dinner and then I was getting ready for the podcast, and then I found myself with 10 free minutes. And I'm like, oh, I should respond to that email. And I'm like, oh, I've done it again. It's
that is the hazard, because right where I am right now is also my workspace now. Now,
Exactly.
fortunately for me, it is a separate room, so I can walk out of that room, close the door, and at least have some semblance of the work and the life separation. But it's still not that 30-minute drive where I had that transition period.
Yep.
It's not there.
To
And yeah,
decompress.
I found myself sneaking back here to, like I had yesterday off. Normally, if I had have had the day off, I would just had to wait till I got on the next morning to go clear out emails. At like 11:30 last night, I came in here and I cleared out emails from yesterday. So yeah, I get it. It's a different world.
And no one's commented on the fact that I'm sending emails at 2:30 in the morning yet. But yeah.
That's probably because they were wondering before, why don't you send emails?
No, they're not. I'm very lucky in that respect. We actually respect work-life balance pretty severely. So, So there's that. And then last but not least, I've been playing my brains out on Final Fantasy VII Remake. Which, like, listen, I know that the goal of Gamersledge has always been to take a critical approach to help make a recommendation for people to wisely spend their discretionary income. And I can look at this game for what it is and give it a critical score, but my personal score is like a 11 billion plus out of 10. I mean, is it a perfect game? No. And will it be that same score on a personal basis for everybody else? No. Because I'm actually really interested in hearing Keegan and Mitchell's views on it, because they don't have the frame of reference that we do. And I think that's going to be a longer discussion, but why don't we start there? Let's hear the people who never played the original game what you think of the remake so far.
And you need to talk to Keegan.
Yeah, I haven't quite started it yet.
Well, then obviously that's not going to help.
True. Yeah.
And yeah, Mitchell, you have played some to most of 7.
At least 3/4 of it. I'm somewhere the Ultima weapon first appeared.
So, I mean, so you don't, but again, you still come in from a different perspective, right? I mean, you've played it in the 2010 decade, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you still have a very different perspective in the sense of, for most of us, a lot of us, that was our first,
That was the first CD-ROM game on a gaming console.
Right, or first 3D RPG, 3D environment RPG, or first thing with rendered backgrounds. I mean, that was a lot of firsts for a lot of people. That was a lot of people's first RPG ever, because it was kind of a rather niche thing prior to that. So, but coming at it from that perspective, how do you think? And then you can make comparisons, and obviously too, it's like you've got that. Also, remember there was no fast forward in 1997, so
I couldn't hypersonic speed across the map when I needed to get back to a previous town,
or turn random encounters off.
Yeah.
I don't use that one much. The only one of the hacks I use very, very rarely, and most of the time accidentally, is the supercharge one, where all of a sudden I'm back to full health and my limit breaks are charged. Because I'll accidentally just push in on the stick a little bit too hard, and poof, there it is. I'm like, oh, well, okay then.
Well,
guess I'll murder them now. I mean,
let's keep this 100% spoiler free as far as the main story beats.
Right. In terms of the story differences so far, I don't mind it. It all works and fits within the world of Final Fantasy VII as I understand it. And I think it's headed in a good direction so far, as far as I've gotten in the game. While still being
how far
faithful
are
to
you,
the original. I am, I think, in chapter 8 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you're chapter 8.
Yeah, so I'm just hitting one of the more major story beat kind of areas. Uh, and so far, I'm really liking the direction it's heading. And in terms of gameplay, I'm enjoying it as well. It's clearly very different from the original, which that goes without saying almost. But I think the way that they incorporated the magic and the abilities works very well, kind of in a homage-ish kind of way to the original. Um, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
What do you think on like the the music and the environments and
Um, Music-wise, the score sounds very nice. It sounds a lot like um, it sounds a lot like the original game, and at this and yeah. um, in terms of and then just the environments, it's very well constructed in the way like especially in chapter 8 when you arrive in that one location. I'm trying to be vague. Um,
at the beginning? You could
no,
say you kind of
well,
run
at the
into it.
beginning, but actually I was thinking more of a little bit later.
Okay,
Um, the flurs, all the flurs.
the fleurs. Oh yes, the fleurs.
Um, when you get there, I took a look at it for a moment. I'm like, I actually panned the camera around a bit. I'm like, you know what? It's different, but it gives the same kind of feel to it that you would expect from that area if they had that kind of graphics quality and ability at that time. So I think it's a very faithful recreation of the environment of the world to what the original game was as well. I think everything in this game is very well translated from the original source material in terms of the way the world is built, how the environments are designed, how the ambient conversations that you hear from the people, and just the overall environment and world of the game. I do like though kind of the how the music and the record system is, how you just kind of like hear a song, you're like, oh hey, I kind of know that, and then you kind of move over there and you get the music, and yeah.
I know from what I've seen watching it
Whoa!
so far, it looks pretty.
You must have moved your microphone because you got really loud.
Oh, is that better?
Now you're a little too quiet.
And invisible.
Okay.
There you go. That's good.
Now you're Goldilocks.
Woohoo!
I moved it a millimeter out. I was too quiet. Moved half a millimeter closer. Perfect.
That's a heck of a sensitive mic you got there, boy.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But as I said, I think it's a fairly faithful recreation of what the original game was. Like, there's a lot of pieces that I can remember. Granted, it's a lot closer than the span of my remembrance. But what certain locations looked like varying between the two games, and I can see how they can translate into what they became in this game. Like there's
Yeah.
even in the scrapyard in chapter 8, I can remember, or at least what I think was the approximation of what that was in the original game.
So, do you have any other friends your age who are playing this also now that did not play the original at all
Um,
that you know of?
I don't know about anyone who hasn't played the original, but I know two other people who have played it. I know one of them has played the original, or at least some of it. And the other one I think has played a bit of it. I don't know how much, but they both are. Well, one of them's already finished it because he's a mad lad, but uh, actually both of them have. But they both thoroughly enjoyed it and the story of the game that this game goes through so far. So, and they both said that they enjoyed it and the characters and the world building. I will say, the world building and character building that they've done so far in the game is stressing me a bit out for what I know is coming. Like,
I
don't do this to me, Nomura.
I think one of the interesting things for me is that they've managed to do something with the world building in this game that I've never seen another game do. And I'm sure will be ripped off from now until the end of time. And that's in every other RPG. If you want to talk to an NPC, you have to walk up to them and you have to hit X. And then they stop what they're doing and they focus on you and you read the text and there you go. And in this one, you just get close to somebody or you aim the camera at them and you will overhear their conversations to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they never have, I mean, I don't want to say never, but very rarely do they actually have anything to say to you because who the F are you? You're a dude running by in the street. You know,
Look at that giant sword.
Yeah, exactly. They'll do that.
Yeah, or the
but
random comment like, "You look like you're someone who can handle yourself."
yeah, I mean, they'll be about you, but never really actually to you or with you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if they have something to say to you, they have a triangle on them, and you go talk
That's exactly
to them.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And you're like, ooh, quest, because that's many times what it is. But I also really, really like the quests, the side quests.
Yeah.
I
They're very
don't
organic to the world.
They are, and they help you learn the town in a way that's actually useful, and you feel like you're actually helping people, and the world is so lived in. I swear, I was talking with Kate today about this. Like, I'm 41 hours in, and I'm still only on chapter 15. And people were like, it's 30, 40 hours at max. And I'm sitting there going, I haven't died a lot. Where am I racking up all this extra time? I mean, yes, there's about an hour and a half of pull-ups in there. Screw you. But which I ended up just making a save point because screw pull-ups. But the point is that like I was trying to figure out where I might have bled a bunch of time. But even when I got to the slums, the first thing I did was I just sat there and looked around. I looked at the skybox and tried to figure out where the skybox ended and where the actual 3D graphics began. But it's not like 10 hours worth. So I don't understand, and I still think I've got 10 hours. I still think I've got about 10 hours left on my playthrough.
I don't know if you listen to all of those NPC conversations, that might be the extra 10 hours.
It could be, because I do listen to most of them. Because what's crazy about it is not only are they all voiced, and voiced well, I might add, but that they change depending on when you're listening in the story beats. So if there's a major event that has happened, the same 3 clucking hens that you passed by earlier will have something completely different that they're all pecking about this time. And they didn't have to do that, but I'm super glad they did because it's super interesting. I'm sure it added like months of development time because they had to, secure voice actors for all those, and then it's crazy, but it's super interesting. Yeah,
The additional voices list on this one, I'm guessing, is going to be fairly significant. I mean, I'm sure they reused a lot of them, but still.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the moment that what you were talking about became most, I guess, kind of salient to me was very early on when you're first returning from the tutorial, and you start doing your thing, and the conversation of the town and area changes to revolve around what you had been doing.
Yep.
And it just kind of took me for a moment. I'm like, wow, okay. It actually, as I said before, it makes it feel very organic within the world.
Very lived in too. I mean, like there's not like there's a few sections in those opening hours where there's not people, but there's not many of them, and I think it really adds to the sense that this is a living, breathing world, and you're having an impact on it. And I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Thanks.
It's butterscotch.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are we all getting gifts?
Matt wants to know why he's not getting gifts. Oh, I was asked, what is your favorite character in The Expanse?
In
The crew.
The girl.
Oh, it's Naomi?
The girl that was kneeling and not the flower girl?
No, not Final Fantasy VII. The Expanse.
The Expanse?
Yeah.
Bobby.
Oh, Bobby is your favorite? I thought you said it was Amos.
Oh, well, I do love Amos, but I like Bobby too.
Yeah, but which one's your favorite? Ooh, that is butterscotch. It's great.
Oh boy!
She stuffed that one in. I didn't know she ordered anything, so that's cool. So, Matt, since you have a shared perspective from me, because you played the original when it came out, I would love to hear your thoughts on. I legit, I have been tearing up every time they've released a new trailer. I stayed away from that final trailer.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was going to have spoilers that I didn't want to know the answers to. And I managed to keep myself clean. But, I mean, if you go back and you watch my initial playthroughs, all I'm doing is like, wow, over and over again. So what was your experience, I guess, with that?
So pretty much it's been been a very long time since I played 7. It's been a very, very long time since I dipped my toes in those waters. So there are definitely some things that I'm like, okay, was that in the original or not? I don't remember exactly whether or not that was in the original or not. And that actually speaks volumes to it because I can't tell whether that was in the original or not. There's a lot of things that were in there, but are way expounded on there. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't feel bloated, right? It still feels like that just makes sense. That's just the way it is. I like that the side quests are optional because some people aren't going to want to do that stuff. I get it's a little MMO-y, like go over here, kill these things, go over there, especially the first set. I just finished the second set of side quests, so I'm just slightly ahead of where he is in chapter 8. But yeah, every time I catch a hint, the music is just different enough that sometimes I don't pick up on what song it is right away, and then you catch that hook, and you're like, I see what you did there. So the music is original, but yet still honorific to
this has come up 3 times now, and I have to talk about it. Tifa's theme. It's the first disc that you hear. Mm-hmm. It's a jazz version of her theme. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there and I'm searching YouTube because the soundtrack it's on Spotify. It was leaked to YouTube. You can find bootleg copies. I just wanted to find that version so I knew what the name of it was. It's not on there. On the Final Fantasy VII Remake soundtrack. I'm like, they have Tifa's theme, but it's actually Tifa's theme. And I'm like, okay, is there going to be another release with these things on it? No. It turns out that about half of those discs are old variations that the symphony has done over time. And there is an entire jazz record of Final Fantasy VII that that they made about 10 years ago. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that's off of it. And so I had to go then find that thing and buy it so that I could get that. It's like they make me spend money for music in a freaking game. Anyways, it's horrible. But I just wanted to sidetrack because I thought that was an amusing thing.
No,
because
that's an interesting. Yeah.
there are and just in case you're not aware, the soundtrack is 4 CDs.
Wow.
It's 4 discs. They have that many songs. And
Dang.
it's like 20, I think it's 20 or 25 songs per disc. There's a ton of music in this game, and it's all phenomenal.
It is. It's all. I mean, and that's one thing Square's largely been known for their entire. I mean, go back to the NES, SNES days. You know, the music has definitely been a thing they've been known for, and they really, 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 really got it this time.
But my question to you that I wanted to ask you about this is something that I've been picking up. You've played Persona, right?
Not really.
But you see me play it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the last 2 entries.
The jazz entries in this really make it feel at times like it's got that Persona atmosphere for me, which I thought was a very different direction for them to go. But I'm really so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll stop interrupting you, but I don't want to forget to talk about these things as we go through them.
Right.
Yeah.
The downside to the jukebox is it did deliver the one version of the Chocobo theme that I don't like as really. I've liked almost every single variation of the Chocobo theme that I have ever heard, except that one in the jukebox. I just kind of, it's okay, but
It's growing on me.
Is it?
Yeah,
Wait, are we talking hip hop the Chocobo or Chocobo?
Yeah, the crack light dubstep
Yeah,
remix of the
that first.
But it's
one.
also like it's like only like 30 seconds a song though, of unique song in it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it is very harmonically dissonant compared to the rest of the feel of the game.
and it's hard to screw up the Chocobo song, but
Oof.
But so anyway, but I mean that was a minor. I mean, there have been minor little things. I mean, but overall, I mean the amount of time considering that this is the second attempt at a Final Fantasy VII remake, right? This is not the first go around. This is the second go around, and they took their time and they didn't rush it and they did what they needed to do, and it really shows. I did. And I'm the only person I've heard of this happen to. I haven't dug into Reddit or gone anywhere, but I'm sure it's happened to others. I did have a fatal crash in the Scorpion boss fight.
I know you said that, and I've not seen that reported anywhere else.
I swear I'm the only person it happened to. And, combination of launch PS4 and I tried to do something right as the Scorpion kicked into an animation to do something. I think it was just a perfect storm of things. But it was like I had to hard power off my PS4 and pray that the database rebuilt and all that stuff. So it was a hard crash.
Oof.
Fortunately, that did inform me that the auto saving checkpointing in the game is very, very, very good. So picked right back up right before that boss battle. And again, that boss battle, that is a heck of a beast. That is a true trial for you to pass on through to the rest of the game. That is
all the boss battles in this game are.
They are true gates. I mean, they really are,
and they're fun gates too, in my opinion. You gotta figure out how the right approach to it.
The Airbuster stomped me the first time. I mean, I went in there. I got through its first form fine. I didn't, and then it went to its second form and I was toast. And I just went back in with that knowledge and like, okay, I've got it. I got to pay more attention to what it's doing.
Yeah. I have died one time in the game.
Yeah, the Airbuster. That's my only death so far.
Mine was a random set of trash mobs somewhere.
Oh yeah. They can
Before
do
a
it
boss.
too. It's
Yeah.
one of those games where that can happen. That
It's like
leads
the
to
pseudo boss level, like mobs, like the higher level mobs, especially like upper level quest mobs. There's a group of three of them that I fought recently that were trying their hardest.
Oh, you talking about that one at the graveyard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sleep,
those
sleep, sleep,
things. Yeah.
poison, sleep, poison, poison,
Yep.
sleep,
I
Yep.
thought I was I
sleep, poison.
thought I was going to be doggone in that one, but I squeaked it out without dying.
Yeah,
Again, that's
same.
assume we're not talking about VR missions. I did lose once to the first VR mission. Too.
Oh, I'm not counting VRs or
Yeah.
like Coliseums or stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now, yeah, the only time I've died was in game was at the Airbuster. TPK'd, total
Yeah.
party kill. Yeah, I've had
Yeah.
I've had people go
Minor
down and
death.
have to be Phoenix downed or revived, but
Yeah.
and I love that it says it's a tough to Phoenix down now because I don't know how much of my Final Fantasy life I was like, okay, because the Phoenix goes down and it rises again, I guess. Until one of the games actually had a little feather go up over your head when you revive, like, oh, it's down, a feather. I hate you.
Um,
But yeah, so that's it's really really well done. Like you said, the voice acting is even for the
phenomenal.
NPCs and everything. There hasn't been a bad one yet. I mean, yeah, there's some goofy over the top Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's an honorific to the original for the game too.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, Jesse and to a lesser extent Aerith, both just they kind of are different anime trope girls when you first meet them, right? I mean, they really play into that. Tifa less so.
Yeah.
Uh,
But even in a way, she still kind of plays to a.
Yeah,
she's
She's an archetype. Yes.
she does, but she doesn't play it as hard.
She's-
as
yeah.
Right.
Well, and trust me, Jesse comes at it hard.
Jesse's almost enough to get the game an M rating by herself.
You're not wrong. That one line in the reactor. That one line. If you decide to talk to her before that
I
battle.
legit have had girlfriends that tried to kill me that didn't come as hard as Jesse comes at you in this game.
Yeah, so it's
But I do have one thing to say about that first boss is that it seems to be a little hard on newcomers.
oh yeah. Getting it. Eve has yet to pick the controller back up after the Scorpion boss.
Wow,
So
really?
we'll see. We're working our way onto it. But yeah, there was.
Because this time, like in the demo, I had a little problem with it, but this time I like murdered it because I'm like, oh, I know exactly how I'm going to do it since I played the demo.
She didn't get a TPK, but it was stressful.
Oh, it was stressing her. It was stressing her hard, and she didn't play the demo. So she went into this. That was her first encounter with it. So and the enemies up to that point don't really prepare you for that.
No,
the sweeper does a little bit, but
not to that extent.
not that level.
So we had to like fight 4 sweepers at once to even.
So it did the challenge spike going into that boss for a newbie is a bit much, and she didn't want to play it on easy. So which she could have probably just fell asleep at the controller and beat it on easy.
Which I am going to do an easy playthrough because I have to.
You're saying easy or classic?
Either
classic.
Yeah.
Because I wanna. It's supposed to be the one if you and I've actually recommended this to a couple of friends who were put off by the battle system, which we should talk about the battle system.
Yeah, I'm that's my next. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a freaking fighting game. I mean, there is no way around it. It's a fighting game with counters and parries and dodges, and I mean, there's a little bit of Dark Souls, there's a little bit of Street Fighter, there's a little bit of Tekken. I mean, Tifa would be an excellent Tekken character. I mean, seriously, she is.
Well, June basically is Tifa.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's what they have astounded me with is how different the characters feel from one another. Barrett is a very particular play style. In fact, I was actually really worried. You're on chapter 8.
8, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sector 5 slums.
So there are things they do to Barrett's playstyle later that made me very worried because they were changing it a little bit. And I was worried that would actually affect how he feels. And it's like, nope, he feels exactly the same even though he's completely different. And they do such a good job. Like, Cloud is my I am going to murder you with counters person. And Tifa is the I am going to punch you so many times that you're just going to eventually die. And then Barrett is I'm going to shoot you to death. And I like it because each one feels different. And I'm wondering if they can keep that same feeling of differentiality with the subsequent games when we get the new characters like Red 13 and Kate Sith and
Yeah, the two that
Yuffie.
worry me at all are Yuffie and Vincent, because they literally have analogs to two types of characters that we already have. So there is the possibility there that they could feel samey, but we were talking in the chat the other day. There's definitely ways that they could make them feel very unique too, right?
Yeah.
Vincent's limit breaks.
yeah.
He's the one that turns into
Monsters, yes. That is
I'm guessing that's going to be mostly abilities now. I'm thinking
No,
true.
I,
They might train.
they might. I don't know.
They might keep one of the limit breaks, but then they'll probably do the abilities like they changed it for Dirge of Cerberus, as I understand it, and kind of Opera Omnia.
we
They
don't
might
speak,
try and do something like
we
that.
don't speak of that title.
I never played it. I never actually played
Dirge
it.
of
I should-
Cerberus?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for Vincent's story. It's horrible for a freaking game.
Yeah.
It
that's-
is really patience testing. Really patience testing.
Yeah, but see, for me, the thing is, especially rolling into this right out of Kingdom Hearts, there is a lot of Kingdom Hearts in this battle system. There is a lot of Kingdom Hearts in this battle system, and I'd posit there's a lot of Final Fantasy 15 in this battle system. If
I
a
thought
lot
that
of
there's
the,
a lot of Final Fantasy 13 in this battle system too.
to an extent, yeah, the stagger stuff, but that was in
Yep.
15 too. So I mean that kind of evolved from 13 into 15 and then into this system. And stagger systems are not my favorite. They're not my favorite thing in the universe.
Not mine either.
This one's pretty tolerable most of the time, except when you're trying to do Dingle Poppers challenges and you can't get the timing for the stagger and then the but so you eventually get past that. But
Can I tell you that I'm near the end of the game and I've finished all of his challenges but 2, so don't worry about that. You'll get it eventually.
I'm
Just
caught up.
through it.
I've got all the ones that I can do right now done.
Mhm.
Okay.
Same.
But the thing was I was hung up on one of them from the first batch. I finally got it and I turned it in and I like auto completed 3 of the next 4 because I'd
Right.
already
Yeah,
done
yeah.
all the stuff, so
And that's a perfect segue to talk about how nice this game is to the player. Like, there's a lot of that where you turn in Chadley's stuff, and if you ever did it, it counts towards it.
Right,
or
yeah.
you finish a side quest, and it says, hey, do you want to teleport back to the quest giver?
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, that's
the
really
first time
nice.
it did that. I was like, wow. And
I know. It's like
I started-
completely not Square Enix. It's like, this is useful.
I even said no because I assumed it was a trick. I'm like, no, there's something hiding in this room that I need to. Every time I did it, there was never anything hiding in the room. So I'm just like, okay, fine. They're legitimately just giving this to me. So all right, I'll start using it.
There were a lot of things that I was surprised that were so modernized to
Oh, yeah,
actually accommodate
this
the
thing
player.
must have been play tested to death because it just every little thing you can think of for the most part is so smooth, so well done. Like I said, the checkpointing, the auto saving, that's almost perfect.
It's perfect.
Exactly.
I mean,
Every time you think, man, I should save, auto save kicks off. Okay, fine. The only thing I would say that's a little obtuse is the upgrade systems.
You know, I
And
keep
that's
hearing
not bad.
this.
It's not bad, but again, you're talking about super polished to, oh, well, maybe didn't quite get as much polish right here, you know?
I don't get it. I don't see that. I mean, it's just the friggin' sphere grid for weapons.
It is. I'm just saying because it's so, because you've got the weapons thing here, and then you've got the upgrade thing over here, and then you've got the materia thing over here. It just, the way it's organized to me is not super intuitive. I can
Yeah.
see,
I
but they
still
do a
have
great
no
job
idea.
of
for the
walking you through it, so you don't ever like miss something. Like if they didn't have as good of tutorials as they did leading you through it, you could never find the weapon upgrades thing. You
right.
could have just completely missed it, you know. And
I'm the only what I appreciate is there's a GameSpot review that's by Tamura Hussein, and which I'm gonna start following this guy's work because he has a very good way with the pen. But his closing line of his review of the game is that for returning fans, this isn't the Final Fantasy VII your mind remembers. It's the one your heart always knew it to be. And not only is that super sappy, and I appreciate it, but I look at this and I see that it is kind of the intention of what the original developers wanted to do, but obviously couldn't.
yeah,
Nothing in this feels forced. Not from the motorcycle riding to the... Yeah, I mean, yes, they had to change things up and introduce new characters, whatever. I'm still boggling over the fact that this is a 5-hour section of the original game that has been expanded to 40 plus hours and not with a bunch of crappy filler that doesn't belong there. You know, I love everything they did with Jesse and Biggs and Wedge. I mean, they did such a good job building that out and making you care about every single character that about halfway through, about where you're at, chapter 8 or 9, I started to really realize that this is Final Fantasy XIII's corridor all over again.
oh
The
yeah,
whole game is
I
one
was gonna
linear corridor.
bring that up, yeah, but you
But
don't care.
you don't care because the characters are so good that they pull you through it, and you aren't. I mean, every once in a while you'll be like I'm one of those people who the game says I need to go this way. Screw that! I need to go the other way, and then it stops me, and I'm like, great, I'm on rails, right? But even then, it's like, okay, well, I just know there's nothing to explore here right now. Let's go see what Tifa wanted, or whatever the case is.
So there was one time in the railways, it let me go and then punished me for it.
By putting him all the way
Back
back
at
where
the
he
beginning.
started.
Nice.
Because he kept on saying, even eventually Cloud says to Len, like, what am I doing? And I'm like, we're going this way, Cloud. That's what we doing. And then the game's like, fine, you really want to push it? There you go. Have fun walking.
And they coded that whole thing because every few seconds, one of the characters would say something about, well, are you lost? No, I'm not lost. You sure you know where you're going? And then finally it caps off with, what am I doing? So somebody left this open here just to tell you, if I'm telling you don't go that way, I really mean it. There's nothing down there. We're not trying to trick you. And
That's why I was like, it's got to be a trick. They're lying to me. There's something back here.
that was awesome because even I was like, and I'm like you, Mark. You know, I don't. Yeah, if I'm supposed to go right, I go left, or I'm always at that fork going, okay, which way is the way that I'm supposed to go? So I go the other way, so I find that chest or I have that encounter or whatever. And there's a little bit of this in that, or that in this game. But for the most part, if they tell you to go somewhere, it's pretty straightforward. You're going that direction, and they're not really going to let you stray too far off the path.
Yeah.
The corridor thing to me became obvious fairly early on. It's like, okay, yeah, this is just a series of corridors. I kept on waiting for that open area, right? And there are some, to butcher English, opener areas. But, that first scene after you're trying to get to the train station in chapter 2, I think it is, yeah, if you don't go back and backtrack, you miss like half of the material you're going to have available to you for the first 3-4 chapters of the game because they're just laying in the street there. But so it manages to balance it. And I think what with 13, it was an unpopulated world. It was just monsters, and the hallway was really tight and it wasn't very interesting. And this is not that. But yet you can still so you went from 15 where you had just this massive open thing and very rarely were you corridored into anything, you just everywhere, and then to this, but yet it still feels right. It is a narrative experience. It is a very narrative driven game.